Hello and welcome to Peacewarts Lab, July 25th, 2026. I'm Avis Kalfsbeek and this is the Pieces Here podcast. And this is where we just talk a bit about what's happening in the world a little bit regarding peace and war. And we go through the homework from the prior week. And the other couple things I wanted to do today was to mention a very special person in my life. It's her birthday today, and probably read a poem at the end by Rumi. And then also, I did ending on July 7th, a whole year of asking questions of AI. And at the very end, I asked, what 30 things if we didn't have AI tomorrow, what are the questions that humans should ask AI to reduce human suffering? So I thought I would, on the lab, just maybe take 3 at a time, and we're going to do that too. So starting out with, I thought instead of ending with looking at what's happening in Iran, I'll just quickly read. This is from CNN. New front, the Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen said they targeted Saudi installations on the Red Sea coast Saturday, a day after Saudi Arabia launched strikes in retaliation for the rebel group's attacks on commercial vessels. It's the latest emerging front in Middle East conflict that has threatened to spread through the region. U.S.-Iran talks and Iranian military official dismissed comments from U.S. President Donald Trump that Tehran is getting more serious about negotiations, even suggesting they welcome the prospect of an American ground invasion. Trump had claimed Tehran would love to make a deal after administration officials met about a potential escalation of the war. No reported strikes. U.S. Central Command made no announcement of new military action against Iran on Friday. There were also no immediate reports of overnight strikes on U.S. regional allies. However, the UK's maritime agency reported an incident involving a tanker in the Gulf of Oman. So, seems strange to juxtapose that with this beautiful day. I'm going to go to breakfast with my daughter for her birthday. But I thought that I would say something very specific about what I make a call for in this world. And that is a Women Council of Peace, as written in the 1958 Clark-Sohn Plan for 100% Disarmament. So in 1958, Clark and Sohn published a very detailed plan on 100% disarmament, and they actually wrote in the UN Charter amendments of how this would work. It involves annual step-downs of arms, with a global police force to take care of any troublemakers that might pop up once everyone has gotten rid of their weapons. And the sun is shining right into the top of my gray hair. It's bright. And that was written, and I would like to know more about exactly the reaction. I finished second book in the peace experiments, and it's on the 1960s. And within this fiction book that has a lot of historical truths within it, a 93-year-old Kitty Ocampost is interviewing her robots that she's had over her lifetime. So she has a conservative one, his name's Higgins. I use Claude for that. She has a memoirist who is in touch with feelings called Hypomima, and I use Gemini for that. And then Bedrock grounds us in what was happening on the earth in terms of animals and whatever chemicals from, spraying and war, and that is Bedrock, and I use ChatGPT for that. And I had ordered this book. I wrote Zero with Gemini based on this book, but I didn't have the book in my hands. And so I opened up this book. They said it was a first edition, but it wasn't. This was published in 1960. I should go get it, but I'll bring it for the next Peace Labs next weekend. I opened it up, and it has a letter signed by, I think it's Louis B. Sohn and Grenville Clark. That's why I'm not saying their full names. I don't want to misspeak, but I believe that's right. In blue ink at the bottom, these printed letters, they wrote in the name of the person, and it went to a California senator in 1960 who was the head of the Atomic Commission at the time. And this book that I opened as Kitty in my fiction story is a part of this book. And I think I'm going to do the 1970s before I release any of these. And we're going to go all the way through the 2050s. And Kitty's writing from the 2050s. But this plan was written and this plan exists. And we did do some disarmament after that. But I make a call for the Council of Women that will be leading the peace with associates and experts that are men, and that this Council of Women would lead and make these decisions for the earth. And I was thinking this morning, we have these ideas that we know make sense, but we have this feeling that it's such a stretch. But we are going into space. We are planning on communities in space and a global government. And now we're trying to manage AI. And if you listen to, I listened to the Moonshots podcast, and the different things that are being proposed for AI is some, centralized agency that would be figuring out, if these AI are going to destroy us, right? And all of the other good things that are going to happen. I embrace AI, and obviously my projects are including AI. But if we had this council of women that were the wise, peaceful elders, and when we pick our leaders, we're picking leaders. And when I say elder, it doesn't have to be an older person. Definitely not me, but someone that spent their life in public service. And my book Zero mentions this, of how you would pick these people. When I was writing with Gemini, I said, anyone who wants to be in the council isn't eligible, right? It's not a personality that would ever say, pick me, I want to lead the world. And no, it's someone that has lived a life of service, serving others, someone who is a student and knowledgeable of peace. If we could if we had a time machine, we would pull a Native American woman the women that led the chiefs and were in charge of discussing disputes when the different groups were having struggles. They would be the person that would, they would sit before and make decisions. So we pull one or more of those women out that are on the council, maybe a representative of all living things, an elder like Jane Goodall, and then different expertise of women. And, okay, I think it's time. That's what I call for on this day of my daughter's birthday. And when I have a son and a daughter, and when I think of their beautiful attributes, I was thinking this morning, she is just such a maker. She's wearing some of her jewelry. She makes jewelry, she knits and crochets, and she sews clothes. She made her birthday dress. She makes so many things. And when I think about our ability to live in the commons and share and make things for each other, and it's not a dream. And when I think of my son and men's role in this beautiful world that we can create, it's everything, and it's all the same things. And non-binary, I think about, we're born non-binary, we end our lives non-binary. And isn't it so beautiful, this world we live in, where people can live the life that they want to live. So when I say, women's council, I'm 63 and I walk in this language of a world that I've known. So don't hold it against me if it sounds like I'm excluding anyone. Excluding men other than advisors. You've had your chance. Um, my son wanted to be involved. There would be a role for helping the world stay in peace and to live a beautiful life. But in terms of who's sitting on the council when conflicts arise, women. So let's go to the homework and then we'll go to those 3 questions. So on Monday, episode 291 was released, and it was Resonant Charms 101, The Power of the Pause. And as I mentioned before, I'm loving these episodes because they're all very practical things. I am in Alcoholics Anonymous. We speak often of the pause. And does that mean I do it? No, it does not. Of course I do it sometimes, and I'm much better now that I'm 4.5 years sober. So in this episode, we analyze silence as a physical and diplomatic requirement for peace. We traverse history from Mandela's Robben Island Council to the 1986 Reykjavik Summit and the Good Friday Agreement. We introduce a tactical syllabus for silence, including the 90-second window, the 2-interpreter rule used by the UN Blue Helmets, and the Japanese concept of ma.